Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the DFO DFS report. It is Monday, November the 13th. I hope everyone had a good weekend. I know I did. Started off with a great steak dinner on Friday night. Then we had the Red Wings and Michigan winning on Saturday, the Lions winning on Sunday. So great sports weekend for myself. Now it's time to do some DFS winning this evening to keep things rolling. It's been a bit of a struggle for me lately, so hopefully we can get on track here. It's been a bit of a struggle bus lately, so hopefully things start turning. And yeah, 2-game slate tonight, kind of weird, but the one thing that's nice, I personally, as somebody who works kind of all day doing this stuff and then coming and doing the video, and I kind of run out of time to build lineups a lot of times, and I'm kind of scrambling, which is probably part of the issue. So with the first game starting at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, gives us all a little bit more time, which is good on a 2-game slate because you really got to try to get weird and try some different stuff. So maybe getting away from your traditional builds on a 2-game slate is smart, and sometimes it can take some time to tinker with that and find the right combination of players. And an 8:30 p.m. Eastern start gives us plenty of time to build after this video. So let's get right into it. We've got 4 goalies, all likely tonight. I don't know if I've ever seen 4, 100% of the goalies being just listed as likely in my decade at Daily Faceoff, but here we are. Stuart Skinner expected to start for the Edmonton Oilers. Ilya Sorokin likely to start for the New York Islanders. Then we got Joey Daccord for the Seattle Kraken, likely to face off against Alexander Georgiev. So that is our 2-game slate, our 4 goalies. Now, if you fire up the charts, change things up a bit. Implied totals page was kind of boring and useless. Implied totals are great and everything, but I'm like, we can definitely do more. So I changed it up. I added a couple things to this page today, breaking it down more by slate as opposed to just implied totals. You can find the 5v5 and power play advantages here. So the overall matchups and 5v5 score and all that is based more on a matchup level and a individual line statistic level. This team ratings is built based on team performance this season as a whole. Nothing to do with matchups, nothing to do with individual line combinations, just overall team play at 5v5, both offensively and defensively. So sometimes the matchups and the line scores can get a little bit noisy, where now we have just another input, another thing to look at to try to break things down even further and look at it kind of at a wider view, looking at the entire team as a whole. So I'm going to continue to do this. If you like it, great. If you don't, doesn't matter. You don't have to pay attention to it because it's still the implied totals are right here. Nothing has changed. I have the power play advantage here, which is the exact same as you have on the power play. Just got to hide these. I don't know why they're still showing, but there we go. See you later. So we have the power play scores are still the same. It all shows up the same way it always has. More in-depth view here, but if you want to just take a quick, look at it, it's here. Kind of probably going to be relatively useless on a 2-game slate. This will be a much more valuable page on bigger slates, trying to find out some of the biggest 5v5 advantages. And as the season progresses, we're going to look more at a rolling average team rating over the last 25 games. Obviously, still pretty early in the season, so things are going to start to take more shape here in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully you like the new addition. As you see here, the Oilers still playing really well. 3rd best 5v5 offensive team in the league. The Avalanche still playing well, even though they've lost, 5 of their last 7 or 4 of their last 7, something like that. Still playing well. 4th best offensive team at 5v5. Both teams playing pretty well defensively. The Islanders struggling defensively at 5v5. The Kraken struggling offensively at 5v5. So just gives you a quick snapshot of how everybody's playing. Again, it'll be probably a little bit more useful on bigger slates. Same, didn't recover until last night's game. Well, glad you had a good weekend. It's all that matters. And then we roll back in for this on a 2-game slate on a Monday. So let's do it. 5v5 score. We've got New York 1, surprisingly at the top of the list, as you see here. Higher, a 1,000-foot view of things. The Islanders are playing pretty well 5v5 offensively. So power play is still a bit of an issue. Penalty kill still kind of an issue for the Oilers though. So from a 5v5 perspective, the Islanders still look pretty good tonight. New York 1 and New York 2 actually grayed out as the first and third best 5v5 advantages on the slate, which is probably pretty good news for us. I think that the Islanders are probably the team that we're going to want to target from a charts perspective tonight. I think that they're probably going to be significantly lower owned than the rest of the group. I think a lot of the ownership is still going to flock to the Oilers. And they're going to flock to the Avalanche tonight, the two highest implied totals on the slate. Then probably the Islanders, and then probably the Kraken as the lowest owned team on the slate. 5v5 offensive score based on Corsi, expected goals, mixed type thing. Yeah, basically just an overall look at where each team ranks in some of the key 5v5 categories, both offensively and defensively. So yeah, you're right on track there. Edmonton 1 and Edmonton 2 grade out really well. So obviously we're looking at this Islanders Edmonton game as being the much higher scoring of the two games. The Avalanche and the Kraken certainly better defensively, as you can see here. So yeah, the implied totals are pretty similar in both games, but I do believe that the Oilers game probably has a little bit of a higher scoring feel. If you take a look, definitely seems to be the higher event game. So those lines definitely grade out the highest. Colorado 1 and 2 looks really good. And then Colorado 3, despite being, not playing a whole lot of ice time. Where are they ranked? Line stats. Only 22% of the ice time is really kind of what hampers them. They're the third best offensive line of the slate. They've been really good. Offensively, not so much defensively, but they've been really, really good. So 22% of the ice time is really kind of what hampers them, but they look like they're a really good value option tonight. Miles Wood, Ross Colton, Logan O'Connor have been really good at 9,000. They're a nice value option tonight and somebody that you can punt. Man, owner's box is slowly taking away all the good contests. I don't think that's really true. I don't know if you're new to owner's box or not, Caleb, but their contests just change on a day-to-day basis depending on the slate. So on small slates like this, their contests are very small prizes. They don't do some of the bigger entry contests. But then on bigger slates like tomorrow and Thursday and Saturday, they'll have much bigger contests. So it's not like DK and FanDuel, they kind of have like flagship contests that run every day regardless of slate. They're kind of more reactive to the slate because it's a smaller platform. So, Monday slate's usually not going to be big contests. Still probably got a couple $100 to first place or whatever. But come Tuesday, come Thursday, I think the contests will be a little bit better. But let's get into things here. We got the matchups. Edmonton 1 grades out with the best matchup on the entire slate. Pretty scary. We've talked about it already. Like, is Connor McDavid fully healthy? Who knows? But whenever he's got the top matchup on the entire slate, I'm certainly going to be interested in Connor McDavid without question. Edmonton 2, which is Leon Draisaitl, has got a 93.3 matchup score. It's the second best matchup on the entire slate. So it really looks like a good night to stack the Oilers. Hopefully they can get things right. New head coach in town. Let's see what he did with the line combinations. Not a whole lot. Nugent Hopkins up with McDavid's a wrinkle. Sam Gagner in the top lines, obviously a wrinkle. Kane, Leon, Zach Hyman together. Bit of a wrinkle as well. So shuffle things around a little bit, not like crazy changes. The one guy that really kind of takes a hit from a DFS value standpoint is Warren Fogle. I actually talked about him on my DFS or DFO morning report from our season-long podcast. I really liked his over 2.5 shots on goal prop tonight at plus 125. Still seems like pretty good value. He was shooting a lot when he was on the third line earlier in the year, but obviously when he was skating in the top 6 last game with McDavid and Draisaitl, that just seems like an absolute slam dunk. So he's the one guy that kind of takes a hit, but the rest of it fairly similar to what we've seen thus far. So let's take a look at the line stats here. So McDavid and Nugent Hopkins haven't really played together a ton when you don't have like a Hyman or Draisaitl or Evander Kane on that line. So Sam Gagner is a bit of a new wrinkle. But overall, the score still looks fine. The offensive numbers still look okay. Fourth best on the slate. It's not a crazy offensive slate, so it's not saying a whole lot, but it's what we have on the slate. That's why we compare it to the slate, not to the whole NHL, because what would be the point of that if you don't have these guys on the slate? So, pretty good numbers across the board. Fourth best offensive line on the slate. As you see, they're going to see about 41% of their ice time to come against the Islanders' top line. That Bo Horvat line, really, really good offensive numbers, really, really bad defensive numbers. They're just playing tire fire hockey out there, just trading chances. I mean, if that's going to lead to lots of chances off the rush for Connor McDavid, I'm more than happy to fire up McDavid. But as I said, this is going to be a very, very high owned team tonight. The Oilers' top two lines probably going to be the two highest owned lines on the slate. Edmonton 2 looks pretty good as well. Their offensive number is not quite as good. 8th best offensive line on the slate. Their matchup is pretty juicy as well. They're going to see a lot of the middle six of the Islanders. The top line, or the second line, excuse me, the Brock Nelson line, not very good defensively either. Also kind of trading chances. So should lead to a lot of high event hockey, especially this matchup here. Like the Oilers, not very good defensively either. The 15th ranked defensive line up against 13th ranked defensive line. Both teams pretty good. Both lines, pretty good offensively as well. So it could be trading chances back and forth. I'm fairly new. I just noticed they took away my most profitable entry, the 2x25 contest. I haven't seen that contest in a couple weeks. I know I played it last week, but yeah, I've noticed it hasn't been there for a couple days. Hopefully it comes back, because that's the contest I play all the time as well. So we'll see what happens with that. Again, if anybody wants to come over and join us on Owners Box, it's a lot of fun. Smaller fields, a little bit easier to cash typically than on DraftKings. But yeah, if you're in Ontario, it's the place to be. Like me, it's the only place I can play. So we fire it up every night. The Oilers' third line, again, on a 2-game slate, it probably doesn't hurt to get a little bit weird if you're mass entering. If you're only building one lineup, I probably am not playing Edmonton 3, but matchup's pretty good as well. Similar matchup to the Leon Draisaitl line, so they're going to see a lot of that Brock Nelson line. Again, not very good defensively. The third line for the Oilers has actually been pretty good. 3.0 expected goals, 4 per 60, 39 scoring, 30.9 scoring chances, 13 high danger, and they're super, super cheap. So you can pair them with like an Avalanche stack or whatever, maybe an Avalanche power play stack or something like that. Edmonton 3, Dylan Holloway, pretty talented. Ryan McLeod, fine player. Warren Fogle, like I said, high shot volume. So super cheap, 10,000. Again, if you're building one lineup, not a priority for me. But if you're trying to get weird, their ownership's probably going to be like, I don't know, what do we think here? Like such a fraction of of what we're going to see from Edmonton 1 and 2, right? It's going to be so low, probably down towards 3%, something like that. So, Edmonton 3 for mass entering. I think getting a sprinkle in there is fine because, like I said, the offensive numbers are pretty good, and then their matchup's also pretty good. So they should be, it's a matchup that they could potentially take advantage of and win you some money on a 2-game slate, trying to get super, super weird. Okay, as for the Islanders, as I mentioned, right, like the Oilers have been struggling. They are not playing well. The numbers suggest that they actually are playing okay. They're just not getting good results. The goaltending's been a huge issue, obviously. But yeah, so far, 8th best defensive team in the NHL at 5v5. So maybe that's why the matchup doesn't look as good as you might imagine it would. But that being said, I'm not that concerned because the goaltending still sucks. Stuart Skinner hasn't looked good. The Oilers have done a pretty good job their last 2 games. I think he's only faced 18 shots in each one of those games. That's a little bit concerning. It was like against the Sharks and Seattle, though. They're terrible offensively, so not a huge issue for me. So if Skinner's still going to be kind of pedestrian between the pipes, then yeah, I like the Islanders tonight. It's a 2-game slate. I have no problem going to them. They're the number 1 and 2 ranked offensive lines on the slate. So yeah, I'm certainly not going to shy away there. Take a look at the matchups, pretty similar. The second line you could argue has a slightly better matchup, but I'm fine either way. I'm probably I don't usually play Pierre Engvall in the stack, but like on a 2-game slate, you can include him. He just gets scratched. Might be playing a little harder to keep his spot in the lineup, but I don't think there's a whole lot to write home about there. Overall, probably not including Simon Holmstrom too often either. I think he's okay, but nothing crazy. Barzal, Horvat mini stack, Nelson Palmieri mini stacks are both great. They look outstanding. Like I said, you don't have to full stack these lines because they're already going to be leverage plays. They're going to be lower owned than most. I really like the shot volume we've seen out of Matt Barzal and Bo Horvat this year. Specifically, Barzal has been way better than we've seen in years past. So he's a much stronger DFS play than he typically has been before. So I really, really like Barzal. I really like Horvat. Horvat's shot volume's been coming down a little bit in recent games, but overall, I'm still happy to play him this evening. So yeah, number 2 best offensive line on the slate and number 1 best offensive line on the slate. I'm going to have a mixed match of both of them because I think they're going to come in probably closer to like 10%, 15% owned, where Edmonton is going to be like 30, 40. Colorado's going to be like 30, 40% owned. So I really like the Islanders tonight. I think they're the DFO charts play of the night. I think you can get super different with them. And then hopefully Stuart Skinner continues to struggle between the pipes because this looks like a pretty decent setup for the Islanders. Also, the top 2 power play stacks of the night. Edmonton, 5th best on the power play against the 23rd ranked penalty kill. The Islanders, not quite the best on the power play, 23rd, but going up against the 31st ranked penalty kill. Obviously, the Oilers struggling there. Also, the Oilers struggling to stay out of the penalty box, 4.1 penalties per game. So a lot going right there for the Islanders. Take a look at their power play. It's obviously much of the same. It's the same 4 guys I just talked about: Horvat, Barzal, Palmieri, Nelson, and Noah Dobson. So yeah, I like New York 1. I like New York 2. I like a power play stack. I'm about it all. We didn't see power plays being run in the Oilers morning skate, so unclear if those are going to change. Imagine coming in to this team and changing this power play unit on your first day. That would be suicide. So yeah, I don't think that would be a great idea. Maybe there's a wrinkle, maybe like an Evander Kane moves up or something. I don't anticipate changes right now. This group, basically this 5-some last year, was historically good, and they'll get on track eventually. So still 5th best power play in the league. I don't think you're going to be changing that thing up too much. All right, we've got the Kraken and we've got the Avalanche. The Avalanche have been shut out 3 times in their last 7 games. It's just crazy. They're super talented. They've got some question marks up front as well. They didn't run lines to my knowledge. Last time I checked, I still had not seen any lines from their. I'm just going to do a quick scan to make sure that nothing came through late, because last I checked, no lines in practice. They talked about they got absolutely smashed over the weekend on Saturday. Their coach came out and said, I would love to just skate these guys' asses off today and basically discipline them for playing like dog shit on Saturday. He's like, but I can't. He's like, we're too banged up. So team's definitely dealing with some injuries. The same shit we saw with them last year. But there's no word on who's coming out, so that's a bit of an issue. If anybody's coming out, obviously, Lekkonen's hurt. Cogliano's banged up. They sent Riley Tufte down. Like, those minimal changes I expect. But overall, I still expect the big guns to be in the lineup tonight. For the most part, Colorado 1's going to go head-to-head with the top 6 of the Kraken. If you take a look here, the Kraken really grade out very well defensively, specifically that top 6. They do nothing offensively. Like, this team is just so boring. It's rough. Conceding 8 to one of the worst offense in the league was impressive. Yeah, certainly was. Been, really harping on the Blues so far this year, and that was not anticipated, not expected at all. I talked about it the other day with like the Sharks, right? The Sharks are terrible, but after giving up back-to-back 10 burgers, you're like, this team's going to have to come out and show a little bit more fight and some pushback. And then we did see that. And I expect the same thing with the Avalanche. Like, I don't think because you gave up 8 goals to the worst offense in the league that you're going to give up 8 goals to the Kraken, who are also one of the worst offenses in the league. I just don't think that those two things are going to happen in back-to-back games. Obviously, the Sharks gave up 10 goals in back-to-back games, but these Avalanche are certainly much more talented than the San Jose Sharks. So I'm not too concerned about kind of the short-term that we've seen from the Avalanche right now. I'm still fine with playing them tonight. I still think they're going to be super high owned. After that game, I do expect things to be a little tighter defensively tonight. Like, I just don't like the Kraken ever to begin with, but let's break it down. The Kraken do still, do still have pretty good matchups. The top line, 66.7. They did some line shuffling as well. So their lines look a little bit different tonight. I believe you've got Jaden Schwartz with Beniers, which I think is interesting. Schwartz has been playing super, super well. You could never really stack him because like nobody wants to play Alex Wenberg. I definitely don't really have a whole lot of interest in the second line with Brandon Tanev on that line now. So if I was going to play the Kraken, it's probably going to be Schwartz and Beniers who pair together on the top power play unit, or this third line. Oliver Bjorkstrand, Eli Tolvanen have been super, super hot. Matchup-wise, it's the best that the Kraken have to offer. They're going to see a little bit more of the second line, a little bit more of the third line of the Avs. The third line is 14th ranked defensively. The second line, 11th ranked defensively. So pretty good matchup there for Seattle 3. I think that they're a sneaky play tonight. They're going to see very minimal ownership. I would imagine probably closer to like 10%. So they've been playing super well. I really like what you get out of Tolvanen. The shot volume is good. Bjorkstrand, the shot volume is good. So at 11,800, I think they're a nice value option. Gord's fine as well. Not the best offensive player, but really good two-way hockey player. At 3,400, though, he's fine. Nichushkin is too cheap. I expect him to be over 50% owned. I think that is certainly possible. I don't know if he'll be 50% owned. Maybe 35, 40. Yeah, I think that's definitely definitely possible. At 4,500, it's crazy. He could get up over 50. With McKinnon, he's obviously a nice stack. Again, I'm going to preach this one, and I think this is good that I do this show, and only 35 of you are in here right now. But for you guys, it's good because a lot of the industry is going off of what Daily Faceoff says, and Daily Faceoff, sometimes we don't know what exactly the lines are going to look like. Full disclosure, because if they've got it changing, we can do our best to project it. But if we don't get lines from the morning skate, they're not concrete. We do our best to, and we have sources that we post and let you know that these are what the lines are going to look like or not going to look like. But in certain situations, we don't know. We can basically only go off what they did last game and try to project for injuries. But this Avalanche team, who knows tonight? Anything could happen. This is how they finished last game, or how they played towards down the stretch in that St. Louis game. I'll bring them back up here. Drouin with McKinnon and Nichushkin. But could they change that up? Could Rantanen be back with McKinnon tonight? Certainly. Tatar moved from the fourth line to the second line last game. Tufte started the game on the second line. He's gone now, so I expect Tatar to stay there. Kiviranta comes in for Tufte on the fourth line. Then they're also talking, I can't remember his name right now, but he was recently recalled, and is potentially potentially going to slide in on that fourth line. I would imagine that will just be for Sam Malinsky. That's who he is. I'm not sure if they dress him tonight or not, but they could definitely go with 7 defensemen. So things could be fluid. Things are changing. FanDuel goes off your site. I hope they're paying you. No, they don't. DraftKings goes off us too. They don't pay us either. They just scrape our sites. Really unfortunate. Because they definitely use it. We used to always only be able to if we have a 7 defenseman, we have to put the forward or the defenseman, the 7th defenseman on forward. And then all of a sudden the next slate, that defenseman has wing eligibility on DraftKings. It's like, I wonder how that got there. But so I'm going to preach it time and time again. Just, be cautious here. Be cautious here with these Avs lines. I would be ready to pivot because chances are pretty good that things are a little bit different than what I have projected here. But, hopefully I get lucky sometimes. Obviously I don't just throw shit at a wall. I put lots of effort and time and research into it to try to project it the best I can. But sometimes, it's not a perfect science. So, Colorado 1 right now. Drouin, McKinnon, Nichushkin, super cheap, 4,500. Tatar, 2,600. If he moves in the top 6 is a fine play at 2,600, if he's in that top 6. Johansson, he was actually bumped from the top power play unit last game in favor of Jonathan Drouin. Whether or not that sticks or not remains to be seen. You lose a little bit of value there with Johansson, but still 4,300 is pretty good. 8,500 for Rantanen is probably just too cheap. They look good. That top 6, I already talked about the third line for the Avs. Not a great matchup either. You're going to see the middle 6th of the Kraken. Playing against this third line is probably as good as it gets for the Avs tonight. The Gord line struggling a little bit compared to the other 3 lines. But like I said, I really like this third line. Nice value option. They're not going to play a ton, but they've been playing really, really well. I think they're a super good value option. Contrarian play. Still, if you're going to see 30-40% on these other 2 Avalanche lines, then you're obviously going to, get a little bit of leverage by playing Colorado 3, although I do still anticipate they'll be a fairly popular value option tonight. Sorry, I was trying to read some comments. Sam Gagner will turn back the clock to his London night days tonight. Yeah, obviously, I didn't really talk about him a whole lot, but you can definitely play Sam Gagner. He's been fine. The shot volume has certainly been okay. 4,200 is crazy expensive to me. I would have liked if he was cheaper, but Nugent Hopkins at 5,200 basically just offsets that. If you're full stacking Edmonton 1, Nuge should probably be 6,500 and Sam Gagner should probably be 2,900. But nonetheless, it's just a weird price for Sam Gagner. So, moving back to this Seattle game. I already said, Seattle 1, Jaden Schwartz, Beniers are great. Seattle 3, Tolvin and Gord and Bjorkstrand are good. Seattle 2 obviously grades out pretty poorly. So, that's the way I would go at this game. I think that all 3 Colorado lines are in play. It's just a matter of, if the lines are exactly what we anticipate them being. Seattle 20th on the power play up against the Avs, 7th ranked penalty kill, worst power play advantage on the slate. Just furthers my non-interest in the Kraken tonight. Colorado 18th on the power play, up against a 28th ranked penalty kill. So yeah, the Kraken penalty kill has not been very good. So yeah, there's obviously still a lot to like about this Avalanche power play. There's tons of talent. This is a Kraken team that's not been very good on the kill. So more power to the Avalanche this evening. Some of the best defensive values on the slate. Darnell Nurse, without a question. 4,800, great play. Devon Taves might be like the highest owned player on the slate. 3,600 for Devon Taves when he's playing 25 minutes a night is absolutely insane. So yeah, Devon Taves is gonna be super popular. He's been really, kind of his steady self, nothing spectacular. Matthias Ekholm has been really good for DFS at 3,700. Shooting a ton, blocking a ton of shots. I like Matthias Ekholm. 4,600 for Dunn. I'm not going to play a ton of Kraken tonight, but I think Vince Dunn at 46 is good. Bowen Byram, I probably just prefer playing Devon Taves at that point. Usually Taves is like 4,700 and Byram is obviously valuable at 34, but with them being pretty similar in price, you get an extra 5 minutes of play for Devon Taves. I think that's probably the better route. Sebastian Aho, the defenseman version, he's expected to continue to skate on the top pair at 3K. I think there's value there. The rest of these guys, I mean, not a whole lot to write home about. You get some decent shot blocking from guys like Josh Manson and Cody Ceci, but not all that interested. There's enough value up top that you don't really need to go there. Pulak's no longer in the power play, so no thanks. I'd probably lean like Mayfield. It's his unbelievable shot blocking. He is the highest projected shot blocks on the slate. If you're looking for somebody to hit that shot block bonus, Scott Mayfield at 4,100 looks like the guy. Is Pelech still a game time decision? Yes, I don't think he's expected to play. I am done with Dunn. Yeah. He was good on the weekend for me, but yeah, he hasn't been great this year. Okay, goalies, and then we'll get out of here and build some lineups. Stuart Skinner, yikes, great as the best goalie to target on the slate. I probably prefer Georgiev at a couple $100 more. I just think the Kraken are way worse offensively than the Islanders. But yeah, Skinner and Georgiev, two most expensive goalies on the slate. I think that they're both fine. $7,500 Ilya Sorokin. You guys know my history with Sorokin. When I play him, he's terrible. When I don't play him, he goes off. So yeah, I'm definitely going to play him a little bit tonight, like in lineups, like on a 2-game slate. It doesn't really matter what the projections say or what the goalies are. If you've got lineups where you're fading the Island or the Oilers, you play Sorokin. If you've got lineups that you're fading the Avs, you probably play DeCord. If you have lineups that are fading the Islanders, you play Skinner. If you have lineups that are fading, I can go on and on. You just kind of play the goalie that fits the lineup the best. Try not to play your goalie against the skater stacks that you have, and just play the goalie that makes sense and fits into your lineup the best, with the correlation that you've built with the other two stacks. So that's going to do it for this DFO DFS report. Let's just take a quick look at the schedule for this week. I believe there's 9 games. Yeah, so we got 9 games tomorrow. Should be great. I love like a 12, 13 games. Like it gets out of hand. It's just too many games. So 9 games is perfect. 4 games on Wednesday is great. Another 9-gamer on Thursday, and then a 3-gamer to close out the slate on Friday. So absolutely love this week of DFS. It's going to be really, really good stuff. And yeah, I'm just going to keep bringing the DFO DFS show to you every single day. So good luck tonight. Hopefully you return with more money in your bankroll than you had tonight. My hat-trick pick for this evening is going to be Leon Draisaitl. Tough one, eh? Tomorrow looks like a fun slate. Florida 2 better finally come through. Yeah, they have struggled for us. But yeah, we will see you guys back here tomorrow. Until then, cheers.